This is not going to be a step-by-step video like the other one was. This is just an overall, this is how we're going to get mass on our piece because everything's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to show you this, the leg and how I got all that texture on it. That's going to take some drying time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of tissue paper and just a small piece, and I'm going to add just some glue to it. And then I'm just going to kind of spread the glue around and make a really nasty little piece of tissue paper, and I'm just going to let it sit so it gets a little bit stiff, and I'm just going to wait. So I'm just going to put this on the side, and I'm just going to wait for that. Okay, so the first thing you have to do besides that is you have to tape whatever pieces you want together. So I want the hands and the foot being held, so I'm going to tape those together with some tape. So I went ahead and taped my hands together. Please notice that these lines right here stay pretty straight. Now I'm going to go ahead and tape the torso together to give me stuff to add all my texture to it. So I'm going to go around in all kinds of different directions. If it gets bumpy and messy, it doesn't matter because we're going to have texture in the long run. But I'm going to just tape all this shut, and I'm going to add a little extra tape here for my body. So I went ahead and taped the whole body, so now I can add texture to it. I'm going to grab these pipe cleaners, and I am going to just fold them in half. So you have 6, so we use 2 for the head, 2 for here. If you don't have this, it doesn't matter. I just have extra. So I'm going to add some pipe cleaners to the thick parts of the legs just because they're thicker in general when we look at a person. So I want to keep a little bit of that. So I'm going to add that to both legs. Then I add this tissue paper here that was waiting for me to dry. You can add it now to the bottom or the top of the legs, whatever you want. And now it's kind of like a little bit stiffer, but not super wet where you can't work with it. And you can start adding it to your legs. When you do this, remember, you don't want really fat ankles. You want more thickness towards the thighs. So you want to keep the ankles pretty thin. So I'm going to do that. Right after that, with my pipe cleaners, I'm going to add some tape to both legs so you can see. So I went ahead and taped my legs. I took that part off just so I can keep going. It was in my way right now. So you probably should do that last. So I taped both legs. When we build these things, we got to think about anatomy a little bit too. That's why we have to remember that the thighs are thicker than the bottom calf part of the legs. You can add a little muscle here if you want, but I wouldn't just because the tissue gets too thick. But what I would add is a butt. Adding a butt to your pieces really makes them look more human. If you don't add anything else, I made a little ball of tape and I put it right there. And I'm just going to tape it down. And I'm going to go around my leg a little bit after I tape it down. And it's going to give me that really nice transition from that butt to that thigh. So I'm going to have an extra piece here to tape it down. And then I'm going to just go straight from it. And it creates that thickness that you want out of these legs. So I went ahead and did that. I'm going to tape around the head. And then I'm going to start adding tissue paper to this whole thing. So I went ahead and taped the head. I taped everything else now. Now it's time to start adding tissue. This is the point where you would add the tissue to the leg, like I showed you a second ago, and where you would add it to the whole body. So the best deal is to just put glue on your whole body like this. Spread it over just a little bit. Then grab a decent size tissue paper and just crumble it on here. Start crumbling it. The more you crumble, the better texture you'll get. So think about that. Just crumble it all on there. When it's all dry, it has to dry completely before you paint. When it's all dry, you're going to paint it all black. And I'm going to give you a couple different examples on canvas that are going to show you different colors and what they do. But I'm going to start with black. And I painted, and this is where our full finished painting is going to come in. I got black, like a medium gray, and then white. So I went with black. And then I'm going to grab my gray. And I'm going to clean my brush where there's almost no gray in it. And I'm just going to touch it slightly like this. So what I'm getting is I'm getting the raised area of the tissue paper, but not the black part. I'm sorry if there's a little noise, but the kids are trying to clean up for the bell to ring. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to let that completely dry. And I'm going to grab my brush after it's completely dry. I'm going to grab white paint, and I'm going to take off majority of the white paint from my brush. And I'm slightly going, oops, that's way too much paint right there. You gotta want to get most of the paint off. I usually use a paper towel. And you kind of sort of move your brush around very slightly. And you're barely touching it. And it's going to give you that look for like a gray type sculpture. Sorry. So that's what you want right there. This is not good. If that happens, then repaint it and just redo it. But that's the look we're going to give to our whole sculpture. We're going to make some that look gold, some that look metallic, and I'll tell you the sequence. But it's always 3 colors. A dark with solid paint, a second one with a very middle paint on your brush, and then a third one where it has almost nothing on the brush. Thank you, guys.